First story is titled, Am I the a-hole for telling someone to F off? At my fiancé's work, there is an attractive guy. My fiancé and her friend were talking about him, and apparently the friend tried to convince my fiancé to cheat. She refused and told me. I visited her at work recently, and this friend began telling me that we should have an open relationship, and I'm holding my fiancé back. I mostly laughed it off at first and told her I wasn't comfortable with that kind of relationship. She kept pushing, so I told her, Can you F off? I barely even know your name, lady. Your opinion does not matter to me. She got mad and called me an a-hole. My fiancé was mad I treated her friend that way because she was joking. Am I the a-hole for getting mad? Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. There is a time and place to tell someone to F off, and this is clearly a great example of where it's the right response. Where you need to fix things with your fiancé is to make it clear that you don't intend to pick her friends, but that you don't have to like them either, and to make sure this lady gives you a wide berth moving forward. If your fiancé can't support you on this, there are other issues in your relationship that need some work. Also, I would discuss with the fiancé how people that egg her to cheat are definitely not friends. Not the a-hole. Your fiancé is severely naive if she thinks that person is a friend. A friend doesn't try to get you to cheat, and definitely doesn't try to ruin a relationship with her friend's fiancé. Yeah, but she has a lot of insecurities when it comes to her friends. She had a huge friend group all of school, and then all of them stopped texting her back but kept hanging out without her. So she takes any friend she can get, which leads to situations like this. Not the a-hole. I was just joking is an a-hole code for I wasn't joking, but I want to make you feel like you're not allowed to be upset by anything I say. I hate hearing it's just a joke or some other version of that. I grew up with someone who was mentally abusive and that was their favorite line. It's not a joke if no one is laughing. It's just that person being an a-hole. This woman is not a friend. And it's possible she's trying to get Opie's fiancé to cheat because she can't. Or maybe she's trying to get other people to validate her own choices by dragging them into adultery as well. Either way, this is not a woman who Opie's fiancé should be associating with. Opie is not the a-hole, and his fiancé needs to reconsider if this is someone she wants to associate with. Now for the next story. Am I the a-hole for arguing with my fiancé after she read my late fiancé's diary? My, male 34, late fiancé passed away from brain tumor 3 years ago. I had known her most of my life. We grew up together and were engaged for 2 years. We wanted to get married sooner, but she got sick and never recovered after that, despite doing all we could to fight this god-awful disease. My late fiancé had a diary that I gifted her right after she was diagnosed. She was the type that get very emotional and would have a difficulty expressing her feelings and opening up about her issues. She was very thankful I brought her the diary, and she told me I was the only one who really understood what she needed and how she felt. I'd see her spending a lot of time writing in her diary, whether at the hospital or at home. I never read it while she was alive, but she let me have it a week before she passed away. I had a hard time looking at it, and I left it untouched for over a year after her death. That's when I started reading it. I brought it up in therapy, and it helped me tremendously. I don't have much of her stuff, but I still have her diary with me. I'm now engaged to my fiancé, who I met via a mutual friend, and she was wonderful when I met her. My current fiancé and I are open to each other. We talk about what bothers us all the time, but at the same time, there are things that I'd rather not share nor talk about. I'm getting better at communicating, but I'm taking my time. My current fiancé knows about my late fiancé's diary. Despite her asking to see it, and I have no idea why she'd want that, but I made it clear that I have no intentions on sharing what's in it with her. It's not like it's a secret, but I know my late fiancé would want me to keep it that way. My fiancé kept bringing it up, knowing how uncomfortable that made me feel. And yesterday, I got home and found out that she took the diary and read it. I was absolutely pissed, and she didn't even deny it. Even tried to argue with me about why I was lashing out at her, even though she disrespected my boundaries. She even refused to acknowledge that couples should have personal boundaries. I yelled at her for being so inconsiderate and for touching the diary in the first place. She got upset that I reacted like this and refused to talk to me for hours. She's currently staying at her friend's house, saying that I was being harsh on her. Now for the top comments. Not a-hole. She disrespected and violated your boundaries. And personally for me, this would be near instant breakup worthy. Couples therapy is for couples who have trouble understanding each other. There's no gray area here. You said to not read a diary because it's personal, and she violated that very simple request. She's shown she's comfortable violating your comfort zone to make herself feel better. My husband has a diary in the engagement ring from his fiancée before me. She died of cancer. I have never asked to see it. He showed me the ring once, gorgeous, and it has remained in its box inside a keepsake box for our 14-year relationship. Around year 10, he asked if I wanted to read it, and I said no. I cannot begin to imagine the mindless obsession, insecurity on her part, and lies she has told herself and her friend to justify this. Not an a-hole. She can stay there. WTF, did she think to glean from this? Honestly, it's such a breach of trust and boundaries that I don't think you can come back from that. I had no idea why she wanted to look at it so badly, even after I already told her how I felt. Still, she did what she wanted to do eventually, and thinks I'm the one at fault for how I reacted. I have no energy left to be dealing with this much stress and pressure. I'm just tired, and I wish she could see what she did was wrong and unacceptable. Not the a-hole. I would seriously reconsider marrying someone with so little respect for boundaries. This 100%. She owes you a huge apology and she needs counseling. You might benefit too. You have to look at this rationally. She does not respect you, your feelings, or your belongings. Then she tries to turn it around on you. That's gaslighting. Please, seriously, consider whether you want to move forward with this person. The next story is titled, My 28 female, ex 28 male, chose his best friend, 28 female, over me, and now is upset and moving on. I had a 2-year relationship with Andrew, which ended 1.5 years ago when I had finally had enough of him taking his rude, passive-aggressive best friends, we'll refer to her as Chloe, side over mine constantly. I gave him an ultimatum to pick her or me, and he chose her. So we broke up. I reconnected with my ex Dante shortly after this happened. Dante and I dated for 5 years but broke up because he wanted to be child-free and I didn't. He since changed his mind, and we got engaged a week ago. I posted about it on Facebook, and a few hours later, Andrew sent me a message saying he couldn't believe I had moved on so quickly, how he always knew I didn't love him as much as Dante, how he thought we would get back together once I calmed down, how I had betrayed him, etc. Chloe sent me a long message apologizing for the things she has said/done to me, and said Andrew was just being a good guy by trying to help us become friends instead of enemies. She said Andrew had become very depressed since seeing my post, as everyone always thought we would end up together. She ended it by asking me to give him a second chance. I haven't replied to either because I genuinely don't know what to say. I've had a few other friends tell me Andrew is in a really bad state and he feels awful for how things ended between us. They've all asked me to speak to him to help give him closure, but I really don't know what to say. What do I do? Now for the top advice. You don't owe him closure. You don't owe him crap. If you truly want to marry Dante, it'd be in your best interest to block him and Chloe and move on. Agreed on this. No response is a response. Leave them on read. He is a grown-ass adult. He needs to deal with his feelings, not pawn them off on you to fix. You broke up over a year and a half ago, not your circus anymore. Talking to him now will really just drag you into that whole situation again. Unless you want to leave your fiancé for him, I would stay away. I don't even understand why OP is faced. Andrew and Chloe are just people you used to know. Block them all. To hell with haters. Enjoy the hell out of your new fiancé. 1. He expected you come begging to him after the breakup, which you never did. 2. He realized how badly you were treated by his best friend after the breakup, but didn't have the balls to apologize. 3. He hates that you are not unhappy and crying like him. 4. He finally burst out to his close friend that it was her fault, so she apologized after years. Edit. Just realized that I was commenting in wrong sub. Sorry, but points are still valid. Yes. He made his choice a year and a half ago. Good on you for leaving him and expecting better. Tell your fiancé everything. Let him read the messages, and then block both the ex and his friend. He chose her, so he can get closure from her. Now for the last story. Am I the a-hole for anonymously reporting my fiancé to her hospital? I, male 33, been with my fiancé, female 32, for 6 years in total. She's a doctor and has been working at the local hospital for 3 years after moving from another town. We'd argue sometimes over different matters, but nothing major or too serious, until now. Now, I'm not the type that calls every other hour whenever she's away or anything. I give her her space and I respect her privacy. I never really tried to even ask how her day at work was because she likes to keep work/personal life separate. Understandably so, but things have changed. I noticed there was this guy who has been a patient under her care who always gets brought up. For example, she'd have his number and call him outside of work. I was surprised when I heard her talking about him to a close female friend of hers. And when I asked, she told me patient confidentiality, so I shouldn't ask who this guy is. I basically knew nothing about him other than he receives treatment under her care. That's it. I tried to let it go and thought nothing of it. But I couldn't ignore her interest in this particular patient after she started contacting him during late times at night for long periods. I just confronted her, and she lashed out saying I was trying to get involved in her job and trying to control her. I ended up reporting her anonymously after she behaved like this. And I did my best to not make her feel like I had anything to do with it, but she came home and yelled at me, telling me that I was behind the issue she had at work and that the hospital officials have spoken with her and got the patient involved as well after they received a complaint against her. She somehow knew and yelled at me for wanting to ruin her career by being petty. She refused to sit down and talk, packed her things and left. She told me to not try to contact her because she wanted to rethink being with someone who has no regard for her hard work. I tried to explain to her, but she keeps lashing out at me. I felt absolutely terrible, but her reaction wasn't fair to me at least. She didn't even think how her behavior was affecting me and kept calling me petty. Info: I was able to determine exactly which patient she was talking to her friend about by talking to her friend. Otherwise, I wouldn't have felt strongly that something was going on. Her friend told me that my fiancé mentions his patient a lot and talks about him in details. She'd get so defensive whenever I tried to have a conversation with her about this issue and make sure I get zero answers. Also, whenever she's on the phone with him, she'd walk out and stay gone for a long time, then stays quiet afterwards. Honestly, at this point, it's pretty obvious, and I feel so bad that she's behaving like this now after 6 years. I've never seen her act like this ever. I have an awful feeling, and I just can't take it. Now for the top comments. You're the a-hole. Your behavior was petty. If you suspected cheating, you should have talked about your concerns with her or just left, not called her job in an obvious attempt to get her in trouble or fired. There isn't enough info, but the problem is that there's some reason to believe the doctor was engaging in a massive ethical boundary crossing with a patient. If that is what is happening, it should be reported to the authorities for the protection of the patient and the public. You're the a-hole. I notice you don't say what kind of doctor she is. Either way, you reported her anonymously, which means you already knew you were being an a-hole and you just didn't want to commit to your a-holery. Doesn't matter, still an a-hole. That's a bit of a leap. People report things anonymously because they don't want to face blowbacks. Sometimes the blowback is justified, but often it isn't. I swear, I just saw a post on here where OP was told anonymously reporting her sister to CPS was a good move, because then she wouldn't get cut off from the kids and she would keep an eye on them. You're the a-hole. It sounds to me like you reported her out of jealousy. It's not clear here that she was acting unprofessionally or breaking patient confidentiality/HIPAA. Calling a patient outside of work and talking about a patient, if she's not sharing protected information, is not grounds for her being reported. It sounds like you were insecure, and instead of trying again to have a mature conversation with her or giving her an ultimatum, etc., you took it out on her career. Dating a patient is not okay either. Either she is acting within her job description and the issue will be dropped, or she isn't and needs to be stopped. It does seem like she is violating ethical bounds or HIPAA. And that's the end of this video, folks. As always, leave a comment and hit like and subscribe. And if you want more of this content, turn your notification on to get updated on the latest videos. And I'll catch you with the next one. Stay safe.